What if I told you that the moral compass of America, the very soul of its evangelical faith, shifted dramatically, and that the end of one man's presidency signaled the death of an entire movement? The passing of Jimmy Carter isn't just the loss of a former president, it marks the fading of a vision that once set the political stage of America aflame. A vision rooted in progressive evangelicalism, a faith that sought justice, peace, and equality. But what happened to this vision, and why did it fall out of favor? Born from the teachings of Jesus, the call to care for the marginalized, to fight for the oppressed, progressive evangelicalism has deep roots in America. It fought for the abolition of slavery, women's rights, and a public education system that lifted people out of poverty. And in the 1970s, it found an unlikely champion, Jimmy Carter. A Southern Baptist, a governor from Plains, Georgia, who rose to the highest office in the land, not by conventional means, but by echoing the cries of the poor, the disenfranchised, and the forgotten. In one pivotal speech at the University of Georgia, Carter dared to speak the uncomfortable truths about a system broken by the powerful and the corrupt. He didn't just talk about peace, he challenged the very fabric of the American political system. And yet, it was these very ideals that would eventually cost him his presidency. In 1980, Carter's defeat by Ronald Reagan wasn't just a loss for one man, it marked the rise of a new, far more conservative brand of evangelicalism. The religious right merged with the Republican Party, and the ideals of social justice, equality, and peace were drowned out by the louder, more political voices of Jerry Falwell, Pat Robertson, and their followers. The religious right's sway over American politics grew stronger, and by the 2010s, they were a cornerstone of the Republican Party. How did it happen? How did a movement focused on social justice transform into the political powerhouse we see today, one that even embraced a man like Donald Trump, whose values seemed so far removed from their original moral mission? The answer lies in the slow death of progressive evangelicalism. What once was a powerful voice for the poor, for the oppressed, and for peace became a marginalized voice in the shifting political tides. And yet, something remains. Though the narrative has changed, the fight is far from over. Progressive evangelicals today, people like Jim Wallace, William Barber II, and the Black Church, are keeping the flame alive. But how can they compete with the megaphone of the religious right? When Carter spoke about justice, he wasn't just giving a speech. He was embodying the very heart of progressive evangelicalism. And though his presidency ended, his legacy lives on, a reminder of what could have been if America had embraced a different kind of faith, one that stood not with the powerful, but with the weak and the marginalized. What if the soul of America's evangelical faith had followed Carter's lead? What if it hadn't been hijacked by political power? Progressive evangelicalism may have faded, but its ideals still flicker in the hearts of those who believe that faith and politics should be about justice, not power. The story of Jimmy Carter is more than the story of one man. It's a story about the moral choices that shaped a nation. And as we reflect on his passing, perhaps the question is, can we bring back the vision of progressive evangelicalism? Can we still create a world where faith leads to justice, not division?